Yo, welcome everybody to another wonderful episode. Oh man, I messed up the intro, Nate. I was about to do the regular podcast intro, yo. All right, y'all. So check this out. You see, as you can do, it's a Thursday evening, Thursday night, wherever you may be at. But we got something different going down on the Virtual Man Cave channel, network, what you want to call it, hotline. You know what we got going on over here. On our main podcast, what we do every Friday night with the whole crew. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Leo, shout out to Troy, shout out to Art, shout out to Corey. You know what I mean? Salute to the team. But you know how we used to have the MLB rundown with Nate, right? That segment was so good that we had to extend it and do a program. You know what I mean? Do another podcast for it because Nate had a lot of good information that he was sharing, but we had to only do it in maybe like 15, 20 minutes, and that wasn't fair. Because Nate, you know what I'm saying, he's a professional when it comes to this baseball and this sport information. So enough of my voice because it ain't about me. You know what I'm saying? So tonight on the Virtual Man Cave podcast, we have the first MLB rundown with Nate the Great, yo. What's good, my good brother Nate, man?
Everything's good. Everything's good. How's good with you?
Oh man, I can't complain another day about the dirt. But let the people know what we got, what they can expect with the new show right now with MLB Rundown.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Nate. I do the I do the MLB most of the time, but I talk about the other topics on the podcast. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring you a show which just about baseball for now. We're going to have some other things eventually, but we're going to do one where we can give baseball a little bit more light, a little bit more shine during the baseball season that's going on right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the reviews in baseball, what's going on during the week, news, injuries, highlights, comments, funny moments. Give a bit of a baseball analysis from my perspective. Some things that's going on out there in the baseball world that you may want to know or you didn't know about baseball. Maybe hopefully I can get some new baseball fans out there who'll go out there and start checking out some baseball games. I'll keep you updated
Yeah.
with scores, keep you updated
And
with
you know
future
what?
games that's going on.
And Nate, we got to be honest. If they're gonna be, if you get the opportunity to welcome somebody to the game of baseball, it's only right that if you start watching the game, you need to watch the Mets. All right, the Mets is the team to watch. That's to root for. That's the team to be a fan of. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't you agree, Nate? When you say the Mets is like, wasn't that your first team? Like your first love was the Mets, right? Like,
Wow. Wow. Talk about throwing it back in your face. Yes. At one point, I was a Mets fan when I first started. I was 4 years old. I didn't know any better. Everybody was
I mean,
watching the
you
Mets.
didn't.
Everybody's
Why would
watching
you?
the Mets in the house. So I watched whoever was in the house at the time. And then I went to my first baseball game in 1990 when I was part of the Cub Scouts and I saw the Yankees. And that's when I began to change my affiliation. But I still got love for the Mets because they are a New York home team, which is my hometown. So if they were to make the World Series, I wouldn't mind rooting for them as long as they're not playing the Yankees. Simple as that.
Mm.
Whether you're a Mets fan, whether you're a Yankees fan, Red Sox, which I'd hate to say that, but Red Sox fan, Cardinals, or whoever your team is, you know, catch a baseball game this summer.
Now
First off,
that
what we're going
I can agree with you on that one, Nate. Just catch a baseball game.
even if it's a minor league team game.
Let's go. Let's go, grasshoppers.
I guess I could say let's go Cowboys because you got Sugarland Cowboys down here.
That's what's up.
So what we're going to do? We're going to start off with. There were a couple games on today. I mean, early on in the day, there are some games still going on that just started right now. So we're going to start with a couple of the scores for today's game. Today we had the Atlanta Braves complete the series win over the Washington Nationals, their division rival, with a 5-2 victory against the Nationals. We also had the Minnesota Twins sweep the Baltimore Orioles 4-0, as the Twins have been on one of the hottest streaks right now in the league. The American League Central in general has been hot, which is led by the Detroit Tigers, who had an incredible run last year and they're continuing that on this season. We also had the Cincinnati Reds defeat the Chicago White Sox 7-1, and we had the Tampa Bay Rays defeat the Toronto Blue Jays 8-3. Currently, right now, going on in the bottom of the seventh inning. We have the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers live in Arlington. Texas Rangers are up 1-0 in the bottom of the seventh inning with one out. Hunter Brown is still pitching for the Houston Astros with Aldis Garcia batting right now. And then at 9:10 p.m., depending on where you live at, 9:10 here Central Time on Eastern Time, 10 o'clock and 7 on Pacific Time, you'll have the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Oakland, and the Athletics. Sorry, it's force of habit. They've been Oakland for so long for me,
Oakland
but
Athletics. Oakland
they're now
Athletics.
they're now just the Athletics since they moved up to Sacramento and will eventually be moving to Las Vegas within the next 2 years. Of course, Dodgers and the Athletics have had one of the longest standing rivalries, couple World Series, great matchups. So that game will be starting within the next hour or so. So if you don't have anything else to watch or you finish watching basketball playoffs, I know that's what's going on. You can check that game out. You have and next what we're gonna do is cover the current standings right now in the NBA. I mean in the Major League. Oh man. Current standings we have in the major leagues right now as we go. We're going to start off with the American League in the East. You have the New York Yankees leading the East at 25-18, followed by the Boston Red Sox at 22-23, and then the Blue Jays 21-22. Tampa Bay and Baltimore round out the bottom of that division. As you can see, Baltimore has been on a 3-game losing streak, but has lost two of their. They have only won 2 of their last 10 games. Then we move to the Central Division with the Detroit.
Let me hold on, Nate. Let me ask you what do you think Baltimore's woes right now? What do you think they're mostly struggling with?
With the Orioles?
Yeah, the Orioles.
Well, with the Baltimore Orioles, the hard part with the Orioles right now is they just can't score. Their offense has been stale lately over the last few weeks. They've been stale. You know, the Orioles had a playoff run last year and the year before that. But we were expecting more from the Orioles now after they won the division about 2 years ago, and now they're just right now. It's early in the season still. It's only May, so it's nothing to panic about yet. But the Orioles they got some decisions to make. They need possible moves to be made during the trade deadline. You have some players with expiring contracts like Cedric Mullins, who has been a long time player there. Do you keep him for the rest of the season, or do you try to move him before the trade deadline in July? So the Orioles have some things to think about. They're below 500. They still have their coach right now, and it's like, how much longer do you stay with your current manager? Do you happen to move him and then start all over? But they have the pitch in there. It's not clicking right now for them offensively wise. They have a great young squad with Gunnar Henderson. You have Ryan Mountcastle. You have Tyler O'Neill. You have a range of players out there. You have Jorge Mateo. So I'm not sure what's going on with the Orioles right now, but I think maybe we start getting into July or maybe after the All-Star break, maybe they'll have a run. Next up, we got the Central Division, which is led by the Detroit Tigers, who I once again said they had a great run last year in the playoffs that nobody expected. But it started off with beating the Cleveland Guardians, who were the leaders of the division last year. And Cleveland is followed second with 25-18 record, followed by the Kansas City Royals at 25-20. The Twins, who have been on an 11-game winning streak, as stated before, 24-20, and then it ends with the Chicago White Sox with 14 wins and 30 losses. Right now, the AL Central is probably the toughest division going right now. All those teams are hot in that division. It's not one team you want to meet in there between those 4 teams. And possibly, it's real early to say, but possibly somewhere down the line, all 4 of these teams could possibly make the playoffs coming up. But again, it's too early to talk about playoffs. We're only in the month of May. It's a long season. Yeah. Then we have the American League West that's followed next, which is led right now currently by the Seattle Mariners by 1 game over the Houston Astros, who are second at 22-20. And then as you see, the Texas Rangers are next at 23-21. And then you have the Athletics at 22-21, and the Los Angeles Angels last at 17-25. Right now, the Mariners are exceeding expectations right now. They do have a solid team with Julio Rodriguez, Randy Arozarena, they have Kyle Raleigh. They also are led by pitchers with Luis Castillo, and they close on Andres Munez. Right now they are having a great season right now. They're having a solid season to begin with. We'll see if they can continue this going on into the rest of the season. We'll go down now to the National League East, the National League, starting with the East, led by the New York Mets, crosstown rivals of the New York Yankees at 28 and
Let's
16.
go.
New York Mets are 17 and 5 at home, and they have started the season off really great. There's no doubt about that with Francisco Lindor, of course, getting back Pete Alonso, the polar bear, of course, with the addition of Juan Soto, Brandon Nimmo out there in the outfield. The New York Mets have really put together a really solid team, and they're really playing in one of the toughest divisions in the National League, which is followed by the Philadelphia Phillies at 25 and 18. The Atlanta Braves were at 500 at 22 and 22. The Washington Nationals and the Miami Marlins. So look out for that division throughout the rest of this season, as there's going to be some. I think it's going to be a tight race going down to the end of the season with them. In the Central Division right now, you have the Chicago Cubs, who had high expectations this season, leading the division at 25 and 19. They're 12 and 10 at home, 13 and 9 on the road. They're followed by the St. Louis Cardinals, who were kind of like running the division for the decades of the 90s at 24 and 20, followed by the Milwaukee Brewers at 21 and 23. The Cincinnati Reds, 21 and 24, the young up-and-coming team. They're in fourth place, followed by the Pittsburgh Pirates at 15 and 29. And then last, we have the West Division, which is considered the Dodgers division, being the Dodgers, the defending world champions right now at 28 and 15. You have the San Diego Padres, who are just as high and to be the most formidable team in the West to go up against the Dodgers at 27 and 15, led by that young stud in Fernando Tatis. You have the San Francisco Giants, who started off the season in first place, hot, but they've cooled off a little bit at 25 and 19. You have the Arizona Diamondbacks at 23 and 21. Of course, the Diamondbacks 2 years ago was in the World Series against the Texas Rangers. And then the Colorado Rockies, who unfortunately have had the worst luck right now in the season, with a record of 7 and 36. They are the first modern day team since 1900 to lose 36 of their first 43 games. They are 2 and 20 on the road. And in the first innings this season so far, they have been outscored 44 to 15.
Are they even trying?
They are. The one thing I know, when teams are losing like that, we always think, are they tanking? Or I'm not sticking up for baseball because I'm a baseball fan, but baseball is not really known to tank. Sometimes teams are just going through it at the time. You have all-star like Ryan McMahon there, and he's encouraging the team, hey, just keep on playing, and that's what you got to do during that time. One, I'll say, a silver lining in all of this that I even heard, which is true, is the Houston Astros back in 2005 started the season with 2 wins and 20 losses, and ended up going to the World Series that year, where they eventually lost to the Chicago White Sox. So, as I said, the season just started. The Detroit Tigers is another example of that, as they seemed to be out of the playoff run last year in August. It made a hot run and made it to the playoffs. So hopefully the Colorado Rockies can find something, find some momentum somewhere during the season. And, because last year, you remember, those Chicago White Sox were the team that was this bad with 21 straight losses and had a team record of 121 losses last year.
Now,
so
that's
the current standing. Jay, you want to say anything on the standings besides the Mets?
Well, I was about to be biased and say something about the Mets, but no, I was just going to ask you right now. I know the season's early right now, and we still got a lot of baseball to play. But are there any sleeper teams that you think right now that might move up later in the season, or some teams that right now that are first place, second place in their division that you could see potentially dropping?
Sleepers. I would say Boston in the East, but truthfully, last year Boston was showing some promise last year, and then this year with the additions of Alex Bregman, Teoscar Hernandez, and Jorge Polanco, they've actually really they're exceeding expectations. They're not exceeding expectations, because I kind of saw that coming from them in the first place. I'm gonna say actually a sleeper to me in the West is the Athletics. Now, again, it's early season. I know the Athletics played bad last year. They were one of the bad teams last year, and they've been bad for a while. 100 plus losing seasons the last couple of years. But right now they have a really young team with Tyler Soderstrom. You have Lawrence Butler out there. They have a good team that I feel like they can compete in that West division. That West is a tough division, but I think they can compete with them in the West. I see them possibly at least going into August, maybe September. Hanging around in that wild card spot. I think so.
Now, what
Now in
for
in the
people
National
for
League,
people that
go ahead, Jay.
no. Let me know who you internationally. Who's your sleeper?
In the National League, I'm a little biased towards this team, the Cincinnati Reds. I'm a big fan of Ellie De La Cruz. I want to see them take that next step, but they play in a division with the Giants of Chicago and St. Louis. Not the actual San Francisco Giants, but Chicago and St. Louis have been the Giants of that division. Either them or Chicago has won a division most of the time, with Milwaukee getting in there a couple of times. But I love seeing Ellie De La Cruz play. I know they lost Jonathan India this year. I mean, last over the offseason, he went over to Kansas City, but they still have a really young team that I think can do something. I was thinking the Pittsburgh Pirates might have actually shown a little bit more promise because they have their superstar, I mean, Paul Skeens as a pitcher. They have O'Neal Cruz, who's also great. You have Key Brian Hayes, I'm expecting a breakout season from this year. Of course, you have Brian Reynolds as well, who's the phenom out there. I was looking for a little bit more for them, but they started off a bit slow too as well. They faltered back after the first month of April, first week or so. So we'll see. The Arizona Diamondbacks, you can't count them out. They were just in the World Series 2 years ago, as I stated, and they have a solid team. So you don't want to count them out either as well.
So I'm looking at the standings right now, and I just want to let everybody know I am a casual fan of baseball. I watch the game so often. I mostly follow my Mets. When I do get a chance to watch baseball, I don't get to watch it too often. A lot of times I'm not even going to front. I get my baseball information from my son, who's a sports journalism major right now in school. Shout out to my young boy. Keep being great. You know what I mean? Your pops love you, kid. This is what you do. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
And I get my information from Nate. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, for me to watching this right now and just looking at all the standings incomplete and completion and see how each played out, is looking like the West right here with the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants, Diamondbacks, and unfortunately the Colorado Rockies in this division. This is like one of the toughest divisions right here. Like anybody right here, they balling right now. Pause.
Yeah, and that's
You
fair.
know,
That's a fair statement to make. In the West because the Dodgers are going to be there regardless. You see all the talent that the Dodgers have. They're just
right.
that super team right now. But San Diego has been the one team that I feel like in that division who has always played them tough. Never seemed like they were afraid of them. Every time they went up against them, they give the Dodgers some of their best games, in the regular season, even in the playoffs, where they surprised them in the playoffs about 2 years ago when they beat the Dodgers, um, and upset them. So San Diego is going to be that's the one the Dodgers I know are always watching over their shoulder for. San Francisco is still there because division rivals can always be real competitive, but when it comes to those California teams, they really have some great series going on. I know the
So
East doesn't look like it, but the reason I say is because I know over the years with the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves, especially, Braves are just getting back because they've um they've had some injuries. Ronald Acuna was out last year for the season. But they got a great team with Ozzy Albies, Michael Harris, Austin Riley. They have a great nucleus of team players, and they can and great pitching as well. So you can never count the Braves out either. They always seem to find a way as well. The Washington Nationals, I think they're still a year or two away, but they got some young talent out there with James Woods, C.J. Abrams. They picked up Nathaniel Lowe, who came over there as free agent. They have Kelber Ruiz at catcher. So they're still rebuilding in the rebuilding process, especially
so
with
let me
changing over
ask you
to new
this.
management. I think
Let me ask you this real quick before we move on to
stats.
the next to the stats and everything. Um, for a beginner fan, just for somebody who's just beginning the game, or just somebody who wants to be a casual fan, who knows a little bit about baseball but doesn't know a lot. Which team would you suggest that they start to watch, or that should be exciting enough for them to be engaged into the game of baseball and also learn from it?
Exciting and learn from it. I I'm gonna have to go with the San Diego Padres.
Okay.
And that team, the crowd, the crowd engagement atmosphere is just next level. I'm hoping to go to a game when I go visit my pops out there in San Diego eventually one day. I mean, you can watch the Dodgers too because they got great hitters like Freddie Freeman, who's not a showmanship kind of guy. He's kind of like he gets hits, and that's one thing I loved about Freddie Freeman. He's one of those guys where he just gets hits. It don't always have to be a home run, but he gets on base, and that's and so I'm a big fan of. But I think the San Diego Padres has that balance of excitement and fundamental baseball. The Detroit Tigers is
Okay.
another team too, but I think I feel like San Diego has that flair that will make somebody say, "Man, I really want to see this team." Because they'll once they see Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado who lead the way, I think you can end up becoming a San Diego fan.
All right. That's what's up. So moving right along, we have some stats right here. So
All right,
what we got?
for the stats we got going here, we're gonna start over on the left. We're going to start with batting leaders in Major League. We got to start leading off is Aaron Judge first at batting 412. Freddie Freeman of the Los Angeles Dodgers at 36 batting 362. Jacob Wilson of the Athletics batting 354. Paul Goldschmidt for the Yankees, who they just acquired this year, longtime Arizona Diamondback, batting 346. And rounding out is Manny Machado of the San Diego Padres batting 340.
So
Then we move.
um,
Mhm.
wait, before you move on, for the novice who doesn't know anything about batting average, how good is a 412 batting average right now, or 362? What does that actually mean to the layman baseball watcher?
Well, point if you're batting 400, you're batting almost. It's not perfect, but it's up there because we haven't had too many players who've actually averaged 400 in the season. Tony Gwynn was the great late Tony Gwynn was the last person that batted over 400, and batting.
Average 400. What does that mean?
Mhm.
Like how often are you getting on base?
You maybe get on base twice, maybe even three times a game, depending on how many at bats you get within the game. And it all averages in not just the home runs, because I know everybody looks at Aaron Judge with home runs, but it's also about just getting on base. Singles, doubles, those count towards your batting average. Um, what doesn't count to your batting average is walks. Walks actually goes towards your on base percentage, which is calculated by how often you're on base. So
Okay.
having a high on base percentage is really good too as well. But your batting average is about just getting hit. How many hits you get, and as many times as you can get hit, whether it's a single or a double, triple, or a home run. So every
So
single one of
you
these
can
guys
say
right now that you see up there are excelling in batting average currently.
nice. All right.
Then you, then you have the current leaders, the top five. Max Fried of the New York Yankees with 6 wins. Brandon Pfaadt for the Arizona Diamondbacks with 6. Robbie Ray of the San Francisco Giants with 6. Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros and Casey Mize of the Detroit Tigers also with 6. These are the main leaders currently, all tied for first because they all have the same amount of wins. Most pitchers on average have about 30 games, about 20. They have about 20. They can have between 20 to 30 starts in a season. Can't count any rain delays where they'll miss a start because of a rain delay. And hopefully that they get the win by their team. Now, just to put a quick note, after those 6 wins, the next ones up will be Clay Holmes of the New York Mets, Jorge Lopez of the Washington Nationals, and Jeffrey Springs of the Athletics. But again, it's the early season. A lot of pitching has been the main standpoint a lot these last couple of years. Lately, they've gone back to that. You still see some great hitters, but it's good to see these pitchers out here pitching quality games. Getting into the sixth inning, seventh inning, possibly even. I know analytics sometimes will have pitchers coming out. They're pitching a solid game, but getting taken out of the game by the fifth inning. It's good to see good pitching from time to time. Even as a fan, if you don't watch the games, you might see a score of 1-0. But if you watch a no hitter happen or a perfect game, you will see the sign how intense it can get, especially when it gets closer to the end of the game. How players are playing defense, trying to make sure that they're trying to help their pitcher get that perfect game or that no hitter. And it's a sign,
Mm.
and it's really something special when you can get out 27 batters and not give up any hits at all, or give up any runs at all.
Now, how again I'm always going to get from the perspective of the casual fan or the person, not even a casual fan, from a novice who doesn't even understand baseball. For you to pitch a perfect game, how many pitches on average do you have to throw? Give an estimate.
Let's say on average, let's say if you get 3 strikes for every single batter, that's 27. But we all know that's not going to happen because it's 3 outs. I mean, let's say on the average for each batter, so you get 3 outs. I mean, there's 3 strikes per batter for an out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you face 3 batters in an inning, so that's 9 per inning. So you're looking at 81 pitches right there in a 9 inning game.
So pretty much these gentlemen are throwing over 120 pitches to get that no hitter.
It could be if they stay in the game. Nowadays, you see these combined no hitters or combined perfect games where a pitcher might only get 60, which I don't agree with sometimes. If a pitcher's dealing, it's his game to lose. Now, if the game is kind of tight, I get it why you want to pull him out the game because you want to put a reliever in because they got a little bit of trouble. But I feel like it's his no hit. It's their no hitter to lose, or their perfect game to lose. So sometimes you'll see a pitcher get the no hitter or the perfect game, but it was a combined because they have relievers come in to help out with that no hitter or perfect game.
See,
I'm a little old fashioned. I like that. I like to let the pitcher finish what he started.
I didn't know that. So thank you for informing me about that because I'm like you, Nate. That ain't right. If that pitcher's pitching, let him stay on that mound and keep doing what he do, yo. Bring us home, kid. You earned this right, yo, and take the next 2 weeks off. You good.
I mean, ultimately, it's about getting the win overall. So the pitcher may not. Sometimes they won't show the frustration because then you start to look like you're just about your own personal stats or whatever. But
I mean, if I'm the manager, if I'm the owner, if I'm a player, and my pitcher is pitching a no hitter, listen, I'm a ride for you, player. You pitching a no hitter. Yo, I'm a ride for yo. You feel like you can keep going? Well, then keep going, coach. Leave him in. If I'm a coach, yo, you feel like staying in? Stay in. I don't care what the analytics say. We don't play the game for analytics. We play the game for the love, baby. Come on, man. Get out there and do what you do.
Yeah, I hear it's a lot of people who feel that way too as well. Especially you get a lot of the former players who feel that way too as well sometimes.
I'm about to say, but what do I know? This is why I'm here on the podcast talking, and I'm not playing in the league.
No, it's a lot of people who do feel that way too as well. Next, we got the home runs, which is led by Aaron. It's just a tie with Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees and Kyle Schwarber, the Philadelphia Phillies, with 15. Corbin Carroll of Arizona with 14, followed by his teammate Eugenio Suarez with 13, and Shohei Ohtani of the LA Dodgers with 13. We move over to the earned run average with Max Fried of the Yankees leading with a 1.11 ERA. Kadai Senga of the New York Mets at 1.22. Tyler Mahle of the Texas Rangers, 1.47. Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros, 1.48. And Chris Bubbick of the Kansas City Royals at 1.66.
Now, Nate, again, for the novice fan, we can all understand what home runs is. Home runs means I hit it went out the park, we good.
Or it could be inside the park home run, or it could be inside the park home run.
Yeah, inside the park home run, if you're that fast, if you're that good, if the defense make a couple of errors and you can make it happen. But what is an earned run average? What does that mean? Like, what are these numbers? And obviously, we can see the lower numbers are better than the higher numbers. So, can you break this down for us?
The earned run average is the average about runs that are given up in a game by a pitcher. So, let's say, for instance, if Max Fried he gives up 4 runs or 5 runs. it's then that run percentage goes up. Now it balances out once you start getting out. So say you give up 10 runs in the first inning, you might have an ERA looking at maybe until you get your first out, you might have an ERA that's going to inflate to like 105, 112. But then as you start to get out, it will balance out and it will continue to dwindle down. And then per each game, you'll start to have an average that will show. So ERA's a really good solid pitcher is they usually range between I would say between 2.3, maybe 2.8 with the ERA. You never want to be a starter with an ERA at 4 or 5 or better. That's just not going to do it. Sometimes you have relievers with that ERA because they give up a lot of runs. Now, one thing that it tallies in ERA that they may not that for those who don't know, say in the event we're going to use Max Fried just because he's there. Say if he gets taken out of the game with bases loaded, and you say a reliever like Robert Suarez comes in and Devin Williams who plays for the Yankees. If he comes into the game to relieve, if say the batter up hits a home run, those three runners that are already on first, second, and third, those run averages go towards Max Fried because they were on base while he was still in the game.
Gotcha.
But the last one will go to Devin Williams.
That makes sense. That's fair.
Yeah, so that's why pitchers really strive on trying to get strikeouts and trying to keep the average down and work on getting outs. You don't want to have one of those high ERAs that could easily have you out of the rotation or have you sent down to the minor leagues. Now, as far as runs batted in, which is how many runs you bat in when there's runners in scoring position and you drive a run home, that's what runs batted in is, which is short for RBIs. Aaron Judge leads that category as well with 41. Pete Alonso of the Mets, the polar bear, following right behind with 36. Saya Suzuki of the Chicago Cubs with 35. Teoscar Hernandez from the Los Angeles Dodgers of 34. Spencer Torkelson of Detroit Tigers with 34 as well. Then we're going to move on to the saves. That's when the relief pitcher comes in and holds the game and closes out the game, as they say, to end the game. If there's a save option, saves are usually within three runs. The game has to be when a closer comes in, it has to be 3 runs or less for it to be a save opportunity. Even if they come in the 8th inning, it has to be less than 3 runs, and they have to keep that lead. If they end up giving up runs and tying the game, or say if it's the road team, say if it's the home team that gives up the lead in the 9th inning, now the save opportunity is gone, and you have that pitcher gets what's called a blown save.
Gotcha.
And leading the saves right now is Robert Suarez from the San Diego Padres, Kyle Finnegan of the Washington Nationals, 13, Andres Munoz from the Seattle Mariners, 13, Carlos Estevez from the Kansas City Royals at 12, and Mason Miller of the Athletics with 11. And as you might have heard a few names that I've mentioned already when we were talking about the team. So now you get to put maybe a face to some of those players that I was naming when we were talking about the different teams in the league and who's leading which conference and leading and such forth. So now you might hear some of those names that I was mentioning. Total hits, we have Aaron Judge with 68, Jacob Wilson of the Athletics with 58, Paul Goldschmidt for the Yankees with 56, Alex Bregman of the Boston Red Sox with 55, and Stephen Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians with 55. Strikeouts will be led by Mackenzie Gore of the Washington Nationals, who has had a really good season so far. Coming out his first year with his first real year with the Nationals. Zach Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies with 74. Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers with 71. Carlos Rendon of the New York Yankees is 4th with 67, and Cole Reagans of the Kansas City Royals with 65.
Sheesh.
And then we have for stolen bases, which is basically when you swipe a base, if you're on a base and you run to the next base while the pitcher's throwing, or it could be in between the catcher throwing the ball back to the pitcher or anything. We have Luis Robert Jr. of the Chicago White Sox leading with 17, O'Neal Cruz of the Pittsburgh Pirates with 16, Bobby Witt Jr. of the Kansas City Royals with 15, Ellie De La Cruz of the Cincinnati Reds with 14, and Pete Crow Armstrong of the Chicago Cubs with 13.
Pete Crow. That's a funny name.
And then quality starts is just pitchers have a quality start, 5 innings, 6 innings, quality start where they maybe give up only one hit, no runs. We have Nathan Eovaldi of the Texas Rangers with 7, Zach Wheeler of Philadelphia with 7, Spencer Schwallenbach of the Atlanta Braves with 7, Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros with 7, and Max Fried of the New York Yankees with 6. So those are your stats. Those are your stats, schedules, standings and scores currently for the MLB. I will be going into after this at the end of the show. We'll be covering. Look forward to that for rivalries. There's supposed to be rivalry week this week, and I'm going to note out some notable games to catch this weekend. If you don't got anything to do, or you want to try to catch a baseball game.
Okay.
And moving on to the next segment, we got news in the Major League Baseball. First, we want to talk about what do I have up there? First, we want to talk about Pete Rose and Joe Shoeless Jackson finally having being lifted from the ineligible list of players who are not eligible for the Hall of Fame. Of course, many of you have, even if you don't watch baseball, you've probably heard Pete Rose's name before about him betting on baseball, especially when he was coaching. Longtime player of the Cincinnati Reds, also played with the Philadelphia Phillies, the Montreal Expos as well. He holds the Major League Baseball record with 4,256 hits and career games played with 3,562. He was a 17-time All-Star, 3-time World Champion, National League MVP, World Series MVP, National League Rookie of the Year, a 2-time Gold Glove Award, Silver Slugger Award, Roberto Clemente Award, 3-time National Batting League Champion. His number 14 was retired by the Cincinnati Reds, who also celebrated him being removed from the ineligible list yesterday. And he's in the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame and the Major League Baseball All-Century team. And for those who may not know anything about Pete Rose, he was his permanent ineligibility came from an investigation that was done where he was questioned way back in 1989. It's saying that Pete Rose had bet on football, basketball, and horse racing, but he denied betting on baseball. And at this time, the MLB owners had selected the commissioner was Peter Ubero. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But it was he was then succeeded by Giamatti. I forgot his first name. I looked it up. And through this, they were saying that they had found out that Pete Rose did bet on baseball, which is in return led to Pete Rose being banned from ever being eligible for the Hall of Fame. Even though they were saying there was no evidence discovered at the time, Pete Rose eventually accepted the permanent, place on the ban in 1989, August 24th. And he was saying that he accepted that there was a factual reason for the ban. Rose, eventually for years, there was always talks about Pete Rose getting in. People wanted to say that he should be in. A lot of people have spoke on Pete Rose's behalf that he should be in the Hall of Fame. But it seemed like the people,
They were just hating on him, bro.
And it seemed like a lot.
I know, because I don't think his record will ever be broken. Like Pete Rose was a hitter. You know what I mean? Like he played the game. He gave 100% every time he played. And I don't know. I feel that's a snub to him that you wait till he passes away to say, yeah, we'll put you in. Like they should have gave that man his roses while he was still breathing.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people felt because Rose did in 2004 in his autobiography. He admitted that he did publicly bet on baseball games and other sports while he was playing for and managing the Cincinnati Reds. Because a lot of the commissioners, as they went along the way, Bud Selig as well, and then you had Rob Manfred for a while. They made sure that it was kind of consensus to make sure that Pete Rose never gets into the Hall of Fame. But Rob Manfred did say that he felt like it was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, we hate to see that happen now after Pete Rose, who did just recently pass away and leave this world back on back on September 30th of last year, 2024, at the age of 83. His family, I know, is elated for it because they did push for Pete to be in the Hall of Fame too, especially after he passed away. So I guess it's bittersweet to see him finally get in there, but now we won't be able to hear his speech as he's and possibly back now. With him being the ban being lifted, doesn't mean he's automatically in the Hall of Fame. He's now eligible, but it still has to be
Right.
reviewed. It still has to be
Review,
reviewed.
but I mean, we see his records, we seen the numbers he put up. We know him, we know him as a player and stuff like that. His numbers are good enough to where first time ballot, you better get in there, man. Do what's right, baseball. Do what's right, MLB. You know what I mean? And he better get one of the biggest statues in there, yo.
Yep, and that was the same situation with Shoeless Joe Jackson, who died at the age of 64 in 1951. He was part of what was called the infamous Black Sox scandal in 1919 with the Chicago White Sox. And they participated basically in a conspiracy to fix the World Series during that time. The commissioner at the time of that was named by the name of Kennesaw Mountain Landis, banned Jackson from baseball after the 1920 season.
Damn.
And so, yeah, it goes that far back. So Jackson's role in the scandal was he was excluded from the Baseball Hall of Fame as well, and that's where Rob Manfred came in to say, he was going to lift that ban as well. So and just to give a quick back, so in the Black Sox scandal, there was game fixing as far as the Chicago White Sox about them intentionally losing games in the 1919 World Series that they were playing against the Cincinnati Reds. In exchange for that, they would receive payments from a gambling syndicate. There was rumors that it was possibly led by organized crime, but they were saying there was strong evidence for both against that about the involvement in it. So baseball was frowning upon that for players, intentionally losing games and fixing games to take payouts. So that's what led to Shoeless Joe Jackson's ban from baseball as well. So it'll be interesting to see if he will actually get any bows after all these years. Will he be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Baseball do it right. Just let that man in there.
Well, see, when you talk about that, then you go into that, and this was a conversation that was talked about earlier today. That was talked about on that day when they made the announcement about you move forward a little bit more modern to the steroid era, and you have probably the best baseball player, best hitter that most people have ever seen, Barry Bonds, who's not in the Hall of Fame. You have the Mark McGuire's, you have Roger Clemens, another one who's part of that steroid scandal, who's also not in the Hall of Fame. So you're gonna have to look at this situation and see, like, are we these numbers are, but the steroid scandal is a little bit different because a lot of people feel like they cheated to get an advantage in the game as far as hitting, as to where Pete Rose would still be considered wrong. You still bet on games as a player because you see how nowadays betting on games will get you banned.
Right. But does steroids make you a better hitter?
No, it can enhance your power, but it's still the hand-eye coordination still plays a big part in it. You still have to be able to see the ball.
You gotta be able to see the ball to hit the ball. Yes. Does it give you more? Are you able to get stronger? Yes, you are. Steroids will make you stronger, right? But if you can't hit the ball, you won't. It doesn't matter how strong you are, right? And
right,
how much responsibility do we place on baseball as far as the players being in a position where they feel like they need to use steroids in order to keep their jobs, in order to make baseball more fun, to make it more attractive to, like you said, the casual fans or the novice fans? Do the owners, do the league management, do the commissioner, do they take some responsibility in the fact that players feel like they need, like they have to take steroids to play the game?
Almost definitely. They take a big there's a big bunch of responsibilities for them. I would say definitely more than 50%. Could be 70% or so, because you have to remember, baseball for those fans who may know, 1994, baseball had a strike due to wages, like you hear about people getting striked about payments and contracts, and both sides not coming to an agreement. Baseball went on a strike in 1994 mid-season. That was one of the years where they were saying the Expos and the Yankees were supposed to meet up in the World Series. And I was a fan at the time watching baseball, and I was just shocked because they were like, "This is the last day of the game," and I'm just thinking, "Oh, maybe tomorrow they'll by the time I wake up in the morning, everything will be figured out." But no, the season was canceled for the remainder of the season. They came back in 95. Of course, by that time, football now has taken over popularity of basketball. Both have ascended to number one and two. And baseball was looking to get those fans back. And when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa leading the charge in that home run race, it took off and the popularity came back. And even if you weren't a fan, you had a lot of people who weren't really baseball fans, but they were watching those home run races. And Barry Bonds got in on it.
Listen, those home run races was dope because whatchamacallit, you be watching a live game on ESPN or something to be going on ESPN. They be like, all right, Mark McGwire is up to bat now. We're gonna go to that game real fast. And they'll click to it. Oh, Barry Bonds is up to bat now. We're gonna go to that game real fast and see what he does, yo. So
yeah. And baseball turned a blind eye until it finally came. It finally reared its head. Started, some people want to blame Jose Canseco because he blew the whistle on things, and he started making it about telling stories about even when he was in Oakland, him and McGwire shooting each other up with needles, and the late Jose Canseco. So things happened over the years that caused that, and then baseball finally had to finally address those situations, and they had Congress up there who had had everybody up there on court, and fortunately, a lot of guys like Rafael Palmeiro who sat there, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say the late Jose Canseco, he's not there, but a lot of people out there who had like Rafael Palmeiro who went out there with the famous pointing the finger at Congress saying he didn't take steroids.
How you straight up and just kill somebody on air, yo? That's cold, man. You talking about RIP, yo?
Oh, my apologies. I was wrong for that. I was just flowing with things. I didn't mean to. So no disrespect to Jose Canseco,
Now he
and
a
his
snitch,
family.
though. He a snitch. He a tattletale. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna call you a snitch. I don't know if we're allowed to say that on air. My bad. You ain't a snitch, but you definitely a tattletale. I'll say that much.
Well, he brought it out, and then a lot of players that came out. You seen players who were taking this. Then you had some players who were hitting high numbers. Like we'll give an example: player like Brady Anderson, who hit 50 home runs one year after normally averaging between 12 to 15. And then after that, when they accused him, all of a sudden he never hit that much again. The most he hit after that was 24 home runs. And just to go back what they were saying about the steroids and hand-eye coordination, Sammy Sosa, who was one of the main players during that time, 3 seasons in a row during that time that he was on the home run rates, he struck out more than 170 times. So that goes to show you. And Sammy has actually struck out, I want to say a total of, but he's struck out at least about 10 times or more. He struck out more than 100 times in the season, to whereas Barry Bonds struck out once, and that was during his rookie year. And after that, he never struck out over 100 times ever again. And they were accusing him of putting a cream on his arm, on his body. I ain't never known no cream to make somebody hit better. If that's the case, I would have been put that on. But I'm just saying, joking. But I'm like, Barry Bonds is a great hitter. He has a great eye for the game. He has a great batting eye. He's a great hitter. And he'll tell you, you can see here even to this day, he'll tell you he can hit anything. And he's just a great baseball player. That's all it is to it. And I think he should be in the Hall of Fame too. Roger Clemens is a great pitcher. He should be in the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah. Mark McGwire, you can be in there too, bro. You know what I mean? But even though you did say RIP, we do have somebody that we have to give a RIP message to.
Correct, and that's to Chet Lemon, who was a former player for the Detroit. Well known mainly for the Detroit Tigers. He started his career out in 1975 and played until 1990. He was drafted his debut with the Chicago White Sox in 1975. Chet Lemon was born in Jackson, Mississippi, February 12, 1955, and recently passed on May 8th, 2025. And Apopka, Florida. He played with the White Sox from 1975 to 1981, Detroit Tigers from 1982 to 1990. Some of his career highlights and award: he was a three-time All-Star in 1978, in 1979, and 1984. He was a three-time World Series. He's a World Series champion for the 1984 Detroit Tigers team. He was in his early years. He attended John C. Freeman High School, where he played backfield. Where he also played backfield with Ricky Bell on the football team and starred on the baseball team. And so we wanted the Detroit Tigers did send out a note, a statement early about the impact of Chat Lemon, and we just want to offer our condolences to him and his family. So a great career, great life. Most people don't even get to live out their careers, and if you get the chance to live it out, to me that's a success, or whatever he's done in his life. Period. Whatever the impact he's had on those closest to him. So we want to offer again the rest in peace to Chet Lemon.
Well, rest in peace, Chet. We ain't never gonna forget you, Brody. I never knew you.
Now moving on, we're gonna start some news in the MLB. We're gonna start with Rafael Devers of the Boston Red Sox, and the controversy between them. Now, Rafael Devers has been one of the longer players for the for the Boston Red Sox. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Currently, this season, they asked Rafael Devers about moving to a different position. He normally plays third base with the Red Sox, but they were asking him due to the signing of Alex Bregman if he maybe wanted to move over to play a different position. Devers has been with the Red Sox since 2017. He's back in 2023. They signed him to an 11-year, $313.5 million contract.
Let me ask you: Is it difficult to change positions?
I don't think so. I think it's if you've played all positions, but if you played one position for a long period of time, some players, it's an adjustment to them. Sometimes it could be the player just saying, "Hey, I don't want to move. I don't want to move over to another position." It all depends. But Devers had he had made a statement saying that now they wanted he wasn't going to play first base, and they want him to play every position, and he's not. So he's currently designated hitter right now for the Boston Red Sox. And recently as you can see in the comment, can you blow that up because I can't read that from that far?
No problem. Wait a second. Oh. It says, they told me I was going to be playing this position, designated hitter, and now they're going back on that. So, yeah, I don't think that what they say they're true to their word.
See, Devers did say also at one point though that he said that he would be willing to play whatever, but now he hasn't. Bregman has been playing third base mostly. Devers has had some trouble at third base, but he started off slow this season, but has picked it up. Right now, he's batting .278 with 7 home runs and 32 RBIs. And I thought it was a good conversation with the MLB Central team, who I do watch every morning, who had their take on it. For Mark DeRosa, who's a former 15-year player in the league, along with Lauren Shahadi's on there. And I wanted to play a clip for you, just so you fans can get an idea on an insight of what someone thinking about it in regards to this situation.
My bad, being mad greedy. Oh.
Okay, while Jay's pulling that up, while Jay's pulling that video, just Rafael Devers is 28 years old. He is a switch hitter, best left and right. So it's a possibility he could be getting moved before the trade deadline, before the season's out. So we'll look up to that to see what's going on, to see where he may end up at, possible suitors for him.
So let me ask you: Do you think he should switch positions?
I think you do. I think at the end of the day, you become a team player. I was going to give my comment after the video, so I can kind of give an insight on it afterwards.
All right, hold up. I'm loading up the video. Y'all work with me. Leo is usually best with this.
We appreciate Jay for all his help tonight.
This is what you gotta do what you do for the team. Hold up, let me edit full screen. I messed that up. All right. I'm not sharing the video yet. Shout out to Leo doing what he do. You know what I'm saying? This is why we have much respect for what people do, they roles and position on the team and whatnot. Because when you gotta try to fill in for people, sometimes they make it look easy, but it's really not. All right, I got the video.
Yeah. Conversation. I want to start with the Boston Red Sox. I think from the beginning handled this less than great. Rafael
I would say that's fair. I wish we knew, like, behind the scenes.
That's also fair. We don't know what conversations they had with Rafi or did not have. But it seems to me at the very beginning, it got started off track. What of now Devers making these comments?
I would say read that quote. They can't expect me to play every single position out there. They're not asking you to do that. They're asking you to be a good teammate. That's what they're asking you to do. Your team's calling. Your first baseman just blew his patella tendon out. This team's better with you at first base. Whether you make a few errors and embarrass yourself one or two games, we've all been there. You're Rafi Devers. You are their franchise guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So for better or worse, their team's better with you at first base. You are not going back to third base. You're one of the worst defenders at the position. There were hints of Nolan Arenado all offseason, Alex Bregman. I don't understand why he was caught off guard by the potential of coming off third base to begin with. And listen, I think he will come around and eventually go to first base. And we had this conversation the other day.
What did you ask D-Row?
I just said, first of all, at the end of that interview, and I want to make this very clear, at the end of the interview, and it wasn't what was circulating on Twitter because it's always the hot take that is on there. He said, at the end of the day, I know what kind of player I am, and I will play wherever, and I will try to do a good job. It's very hard to talk about a player when I've never had a conversation with him. So, we always want to show the other side and give the benefit of the doubt. I feel like that's what we do really well. This is a player that's paid the most in franchise history, and this is a human element. And I agree with you 100%.
Well, he's handling it terribly.
I got it. But in his mind, you paid me the most ever. And I agree with you. You've got to be a good teammate. I know. Just he was replaced, and now he's being the replacement. I got it.
So if Bregman gets hurt and they ask him to go back to third, he's going to say no?
I'm not. He should do it and should not complain. But in his mind, I understand there's a human element. He was the guy. He was replaced. They brought someone in, and now can you move there? So just take that in as a human.
You asked D-Row.
I completely agree with that take, and it's the way he's handling it.
Yes.
That's fair.
And I asked D-Row. I said, what if they came to you today and said, you need to host NHL tonight? You'd be like, I don't know hockey.
Yeah.
I'm going to be terrible at it. And you would complain, as would I.
I don't know hockey either. Does
it make our team better? No. I can't think in that super.
No, it does.
Well, yeah, it will.
This does in Boston, but
I've watched too many better players than Rafi Devers move.
Bryce Harper moves. Mookie Betts makes a sport of moving.
Freddie Freeman went to third base.
Yes.
Jose Altuve moved to left field.
Yes.
Brian Kenny said something in the bullpen that I loved. He's probably going to go for it on MLB now, but he said, "You're paid not to be a third baseman. You're paid to be a ball player. You're an employee at the end of the day. And to go out there, whether you like your GM or not, I am the first to admit for managers I played for that I did not like. GMs that I did not like. I wasn't a good enough player to be put in this position to put guys on blast. I would say this, giving Rafael Devers a little love on this, you're right. They handled this horribly. They knew they wanted to get him off third base.
Yeah.
They should have moved Casas in the offseason for a starting pitcher and a prospect is what should have happened. They should have moved Rafi to first base right out of the gate in Fort Myers. Day one, he would have complained for a little bit. And then
but hindsight is 20/20, and now Alex in the front office, now they got to all get with Rafi and get everyone on the same page, and we all think that ultimately that's what's going to happen.
I'll say this, Rafi. You say you have great relationship with your teammates, and I get it. We are forced to love. But don't think in quiet moments this ain't frustrating some of your boys.
Yeah.
In here with Kevin Casey. Kevin, hey,
All right, and
Right.
that was a clip from the MLB Central team in the morning with Mark DeRosa, who again was a former baseball player. My take, I understand where DeRosa's coming from on one end. You know, as a ball player, you're asked to play. You play where you're asked to play. You know, because when you play, there's no guarantee of what position you're going to play anyway. And you know, I think Rafael Devers is in some way going about it the wrong way with um as far as just being like, oh well, I'm not going to play here, or even going to social media about it. You know, I think that's something you talk to the team about. I personally think it's nothing wrong with moving to first base elite because I don't think Devers really wants to be a DH. He'd rather be playing. He may be loved at third base, but I would look at this as just an opening for you. You know, if you can move to first base, you're playing at a different position. And like they said, you have a player that's down, that's injured. Why not move to first? Because obviously they don't want you at third base anymore. So I think that on one end, Rafael is going the wrong way about it, but I also think the organization went the wrong way about it from the jump as well. This is something that you should have handled before the season started, well before the season started. If you knew, you should have handled this probably even before spring training even started. So I think it's still gonna be messy. It's still gonna be a messy situation in Boston. And if you want to keep the distractions away from this, if he's not gonna be willing to be on board with moving over to first, either you leave him at DH, and if he's fine with that, and as long as he doesn't say anything else in the media about it, you leave him there until you can figure out where you can move him at. If not, I think you find a place for him sooner than later. Because he's really good,
So
and he probably takes pride at being at third base and as well, and feel like I still can produce at third base. I can still play third base, So that's the reason I say I understand what DeRozan is saying, but I don't fully agree with his take on that.
so let me ask you this: how much of this is thrown off the chemistry of his team, of his teammates and stuff like this? And do you think his team is uniting behind him and supporting him? Or you think they like, yo, bro, just slide on over to first base so we can just get these wins, yo, and you know what I mean? Just chill, man. Play the game and just shut up.
I can't say because like Lauren Shahadi was saying, I'm not in that locker room. Don't know what kind of conversations being had. You may have some people divided. You may have one half that's with him, the other half that's not, or you don't know if there's more or less. Not really sure. You don't want to speculate that because it's possible. There are some players probably saying, "Hey, man, just go to first and just play." We're baseball players. Everybody changes positions. Alex Rodriguez was a shortstop for years, but when he came to the Yankees, he moved to third base. Even Cal Ripken moved to third base eventually at some point when he played shortstop for so many years. Excuse me, sorry. And as they mentioned, Mookie Betts, for the better of the team, defensively, he moves from the outfield and moved into the infield at second base, thus giving another player a chance to play in the outfield that enhanced it at the time was Jason Hayward last year that enhanced the defense for the Dodgers. So now you got Mookie where he can play outfield sometimes and he can play the infield. It's for the better of the team. And overall, it's about the team winning, So hopefully, I know the Boston management is, from what I've seen in the tabloids, they've gone to talk to Rafi. So maybe they'll be able to figure things out. Again, you don't want a disgruntled player in general, but then you got a disgruntled player for $313.5 million.
Sheesh.
You're gonna have to
That's
figure
how much
something
he's
out.
getting paid.
11 with 11 year contract. He's been there since 2017. So
Yo, that's crazy. He can retire after this one contract.
he's still young. He's 28 years old, so he still
Nah,
got some
I
juice.
know. Like you still got years to play, but after this first one, you could be done. Like I'm out. I'm good. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Not really, but I'm gone.
Yeah, so we're hoping that, hopefully, with Boston they'll be able to figure things out, maybe some teams that'll be suitors for him. But, with another thing that's a bad thing is with the way Devers is going about it, you may have a lot of teams who'll be like, well, he'll be a locker room distraction, so we don't want him either. So that could play a big part in what goes on also as well. So we'll see if there'll be anybody who's willing. Most teams, if they are thinking about trading for him, they'll probably have a conversation about what they want him to bring to the locker room, because he was a very solid player, very solid hitter still to this day. But obviously the team wants to go in a different direction at third base, so you may have to suck in your pride a little bit and move over to first or wherever other position they actually play. If they actually play the outfield, even Jose Altuve, for as long as he's played with the Houston Astros, he's playing in the outfield now these
What
days.
what team right now can use a play of his caliber though? If they was to trade him, if they were to move him, and let's say he wanted to stay at third base, he's like, yeah, I'm not leaving third base. What team right now can use him at third base? Since he can hit so well, and even though he's a liability, because it sounds like he's a liability at third base right now for the Boston Red Sox. It sounds like he needs to go to first, where he'll be a lot more proficient, and the team will do a lot better. But what team will be good enough, or could use him at third base?
Well, depending on if the team wants to, I don't know if Boston with this. I doubt at this point with Raphael, even though that dynamic has changed in sports, I don't see them trading him within the division. So I don't see him going to the Orioles. Fortunately, the Yankees just lost Oswaldo Cabrera, but they also have DJ LeMahieu, so that's another story that I'm gonna bring up afterwards. He maybe could fit somewhere in the team that can use him. Maybe out there in well, I'd say maybe a team like the Angels, because they have a few veterans on the team. They lost Mike Trout, maybe, but they have a young team too that's rebuilding. But they can maybe move him at third base. But as far as playoffs, maybe he could fit in Atlanta. No, he can't fit in Atlanta because they have Austin Riley there. I don't see any real top contenders that really necessarily need a third baseman at this time. So it's like that where he'll definitely, because he definitely not place like San Diego. They have Manny Machado there. They're not moving him. San Francisco has Matt Chapman. So I'm just trying to think of the teams. I don't know. I feel Devers might be putting himself in a situation where it's nowhere unless they just trade him and make him a DH somewhere else.
So in other words, he might as well just stay where he at. Slide on over to first base and make his team be great. You know what I mean?
So far he spent his whole career with Boston. So
man, he needs to stop griping. So you know what he sounded like right now? He sounded like a spoiled child who's used to getting his way and asking to do something different. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, if it makes your team better, like I get where you coming from. Like, well, you didn't ask me to do all of this and stuff like that. But bro, we gave you the bag. We trying to win a championship. Like, don't you want to win this chip? Like, come on, we all eat.
And there's a lot of players who have moved to different positions. Whether some, I don't really want to put the catchers in there because a lot of the times the catchers, I think after 10 years or so, some of them needs wise, they get tired of being back there behind the plate, so they move to first base. Salvador Perez is like the last person that's still playing catcher, at that position. But like Pudge Rodriguez is one of the last few I think they actually played that position the entire time. But like I remember Mike Piazza moved to first base. You seen a guy like John, so even look at Bryce Harper. As great as Bryce Harper is right now and still is, he moved from right field to first base.
See,
in the midst of a $300+ million contract where he's with the Phillies for about the next 15 to 17 years.
So that's crazy. So speaking of something that's crazy, Nate, I need you to explain to me, how did this dude on this play avoid the tag, yo? Because this highlight reel is crazy.
Oh, so you're going into the highlights?
Just real fast, because I was looking at this, like, yo, how amazing is something like that, yo?
Oh, the way players slide over the last decades, it's definitely I ain't say an art, but you gotta know the angles, be able to slide, make the catcher and get your hand. The main thing is getting your hand in there before the catcher gets a glove on you. And for the umpire to call that safe the first time out, most umpires probably would have called them out at the beginning.
Word.
But for him to be able to evade the catcher's tag and get his hand in there, that's a pretty amazing play by Riley Green of the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, I don't know. That's amazing, yo. I don't know. I just saw that real fast. I just had to peep that, like, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, we got more. So the last thing about it, because we're going to go through some injuries. The only one I got a video for that I just wanted to show was, unfortunately, Oswaldo Cabrera from the New York Yankees suffered a fractured ankle the other night against the Seattle Mariners. as he was tagging up on a fly ball in the outfield from a sacrifice and going to score at home while Jay pulls that video up. Cabrera has been going for X-rays. There hasn't been still full on the severity of his ankle injury, but the way his ankle, the way it like his ankle bent back, it looks like he's most likely out for the season. I don't want to speculate that. I hope he's not. We do wish him a speedy, well recovery. DJ LeMahieu has been activated to play in. He will play some third base time. Of course, LeMahieu didn't play a lot the year before he was injured also as well, but he's gonna move in at third base. Unfortunately, you can't move Jazz Chisholm there because Jazz Chisholm is out for the next 4 to 6 weeks as well for the Yankees. And while Jay pulls that video up,
What
Oswaldo Cabrera from the Yankees when he injured himself. So there's one with a video, then I want you to show the other one after that shows like stills of the injury.
Okay. Again, yo, shout out to Leo because he be making this look real easy. Oh. Yo, his foot is like turned around backwards, yo. At least is he safe? Y'all, I hope y'all marked him safe. I hope the umpire said safe.
Oh no, he scored on that.
Oh, look at his foot. Yeah, cover that up, bro. Cover that up. Get like 15 medics out there. Your boy is cooked. Watch this, y'all. Ah, that was a good hit, though. Tagged up. He was out. Ooh. I gotta stop sharing that. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, let me go back. Yeah, go ahead.
Cabrera was batting .243 with one home run, 11 RBIs, but very defensively sound for the Yankees. So we wish him a speedy recovery. Hopefully, we'll see him. Right now, he's considered on the 10-day injured list. It looked really bad, but maybe it's not as bad as I expected after MRI. After he had an MRI done. So right now it's a 10-day. He's on a 10-day IL, but we'll see going forward. Of course, the Yankees will take their time with rushing him back.
10 days. That's it.
Yeah, that's currently what his status shows as now, but I think he's going to be out longer than that. I think that's just
he's gonna be out 10 weeks.
He may possibly be out for the season. We don't know that, but we'll have to see.
That boy.
For the week out there, we advise, turn away if this is too much for you.
Yeah, that's crazy. Look at his foot, like it's just Look at his face, man. His face says it all. He knew as soon as he tried to slide, it was done. The whole joint just buckled.
Yeah, that's the worst, especially when your leg gets caught and your body's going forward, and while the rest of your body stays where it's at. I've had that happen on a fly ball playing out when it was rain. Freak accident. I was the cutoff man. I was playing second base, and as the outfielder's throwing it to me, all of a sudden my leg just stuck and I buckled, and I just felt and I just kept going forward where my leg stayed in it. And I didn't think nothing of it at first. I was telling myself to get up, and then I ended up playing that game and the next two games after that same day. And it didn't kick in until I got home. Until I got home, it kicked in, and I ended up taking myself to the hospital that night. Actually, my brother did. He drove over there and took me to the hospital. And they just put on a soft cast on whatever. It's soft, like, just to keep it in place. And then I had to rest my leg up for a few days. Next, we got other injuries. Going to run through some of these. Spencer Strider will be returning off the IL. Back to Milwaukee. We have Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa had a collision today in Baltimore. Correa went out of the game, but Buxton was able to stay in the game. I'm not sure if he's going to have concussion protocol after the game was over. Tanner Houck of the Boston Red Sox is on the 15-day after a right flexor pronata strain, which is strain of the muscles and the tendons on the inner side on the inner part of the forearm. So he's only going to be on the 15-day IL. Ben Joyce is having season-ending surgery as well for the Los Angeles Angels. And Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers will be making his first start this year. This weekend as they play the Athletics. Of course, Kershaw was playing in the minor leagues, rehabbing up there. So he will get. Dave Roberts said he will get his first start this weekend coming up. Now we got some highlights of some videos, and then we don't need too much audio. So we just wanted to share a couple highlights over the last couple of days that have happened. So after that slide that Jay showed from Riley Green should be showing Julio Rodriguez robbing Trent Grisham of a home run in between Seattle and the Yankees. Yeah, you can just play all them highlights right behind each other.
Oh, that's crazy. How you catch that? What's next? Why are they showing
The
me?
audio on?
Nah, the audio. Nah, I turned the audio.
The pink glove and going and getting that home run and bringing it back. You in the white with the red stitches. Come here.
Out to Julio. He's giving some ground. He's on the track. He is at the wall. Julio does he do?
Yeah.
And I want to have a little fun, funny moments. This one is from the Baltimore Orioles. In baseball games, they have someone who to catch the foul balls on each side. And one of these players, he had a rough going. It was funny though. It was funny moments, just he couldn't seem to feel the ball. Jay, if you have that one, and then we're about to wrap the show up.
Which one was it?
It should say, "Are you serious?" Like on the title under it. It's a guy with a white shirt on the Orioles outfit.
No fly zone. Not the pitch hit homer, right?
No, keep going.
Very impressive. You said a guy with a blue shirt on?
White.
Yeah, I'll be listening. Tip drill.
Matter of fact, show that play, the tip drill. We got to see that one. That was an awesome teamwork.
All right, let's see. Yeah, again, shout out to the brother Leo, because I would definitely get fired if this was my job. I'm not good at
Leo.
this. Shout out to the God. All right, let me enlarge it. Oh, that was crazy.
Are you kidding?
Nah, you can't be serious.
Off Abreu's glove and a basket catch from Don against Hunter Dobbins. First pitch swinging, vaulted high and deep to right. Abreu's back at the track. Abreu, Rafael, and combined to make the catch.
Like, look, I'm over here clapping at him like I'm at the game right now.
So that's great teamwork by the outfielders. There's some Jay, let me know if you're able to find that one video. That'll be the last one.
You said a dude got on a white shirt.
Yeah, he's fielding. It should say the title subtitle should say, "Are you serious?"
Just
some fun, of things that go on at baseball games.
All right. See, I'm getting better as time goes. Y'all see, I'm nice, son. Yo, Leo, watch it back, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't coming for your job because I can't do this, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just nice, though. Getting better.
As you can see, the poor ball boy. And then he's going to get one more chance, believe it or not.
Oh, a few moments later. He about to get fired.
Rough day
He's
out on the
about to
field
get
for the ball boys, but shout out to the ball boys being out there, fielding the ground balls.
you got one job. One job only. Listen, I'm just joking because I can't do any better, yo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not nice at all. But
So
yo, everybody.
as an
Nah, go ahead,
announcement,
man.
Juan Soto will be playing. He's announced he'll be playing for Team DR Dominican Republic for the World Cup next year, 2026, which leads me into the final end of our segment. Rivalry week this week. All the rivalry basically is all a lot of the teams who are rivals to each other, whether they play in the same state or they play in different they play in different states but in the same division, or they have a long-term rivalry that's gone on for years. Rivalry week will be led by the New York Yankees and the New York Mets, with Juan Soto returning to the Bronx against the Yankees in a 3-game series that starts off tomorrow. Other games we have is the Washington Nationals against the Orioles. We have the Pittsburgh against Philadelphia, the Battle of Pennsylvania, the Battle of Ohio, Cleveland versus the Cleveland Guardians versus Cincinnati Reds. Again, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers against the Oakland Athletics. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to change that. Sorry, the San Francisco Giants against the Oakland Athletics. Shohei Ohtani will play his former team with the Los Angeles Angels this weekend. You also have the battle here in Texas, the Houston Astros against the Texas Rangers, and the St. Louis Cardinals against the Kansas City Royals. Battle of Missouri. So those are some games to look forward to this week. If you're not doing anything or you got a chance to catch a game, hopefully you'll enjoy some of those games and you'll come back again. We ran a little longer than I expected. I plan to work on that and make the show a little bit less time than it should be. But I thank you for this inaugural show. Thanks Jay and Leo for the opportunity to do this show on a Thursday. Tune in tomorrow for the Mancave show, the Mancave regular podcast tomorrow. I'm Nate. We'll be and there's going to be a lot of new things, and there's going to be a lot of things for this show going forward that I look to try to introduce, hopefully. So be patient, and I thank you all for whoever did tune in. Thank you for watching. That's all I got to really say.
Yo, Nate, man, this is a definitely dope inaugural show to MLB Rundown with Nate the Great on the Virtual Man Cave platform, yo. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that we was able to extend this program to, you know what I'm saying, doing what we do right now, because I think right now you're going to make baseball exciting for people. You know what I'm saying? And me being an average baseball watcher, a casual fan, I'll be able to ask questions from a different perspective, just to get back to the fundamentals of the game and stuff like that, and be able to just break it down, because you are what we like to call on a Man Cave podcast, the expert. So again, we appreciate you for doing this and stuff like that, educating us the game. And like my brother Nate said, man, we'll see you tomorrow, man, on a regular show with the whole crew, man. Shout out to Troy, Leo, you know what I mean? Our good brother Nate right here, homie Arthur, you know what I'm saying? Unc and Corey, yo. So again, this is the MLB Rundown with Nate the Great. We see y'all again next week, yo. Peace.